Welcome, curious minds, to another profound journey into the depths of knowledge here on the Deep Dive. In a world that often feels like it's perpetually on a collision course with disaster, socially, politically, environmentally, there's this undeniable human yearning for something more.
Definitely. A search for real understanding, maybe even a blueprint for existence.
Exactly. How do we even begin to find that sense of unity, order, peace when, well, everything seems to be pulling apart at the seams?
It's a huge question. One that's resonated across, well, pretty much all human civilizations, right? For millennia.
Hmm.
Many ancient traditions grappled with this very dilemma.
And that's what we're doing today.
Right. Our mission today is to unpack a truly remarkable stack of sources that promises to shed some much-needed light on it. We're aiming to guide you toward a deeper perception of those hidden forces, those abstract principles that, according to these traditions, really unify our world.
And what a journey we're embarking on. For this deep dive, we're really zeroing in on one significant work. Metu Neter Volume 1, The Great Oracle of Tahuti, and the Egyptian System of Spiritual Cultivation. This is by Ra-Nefer Amensirs, published back in 1990.
Yeah, Commit Media Transvisions, Inc.
And the interesting thing is, it isn't presented as just another historical text, something you study just for, academic curiosity.
Not at all. It's framed as a living system, a practical guide. It offers this really unique perspective on ancient wisdom that, frankly, often stands in stark contrast to conventional Western thought.
So our goal here, for you listening, is to extract the most important nuggets, the key insights, helping you become quickly and thoroughly informed on what is, let's be honest, a fascinating but also pretty complex topic, something that could genuinely shift your perspective.
Indeed. The author's premise right from the start, it challenges us to reconsider our fundamental understanding of the world and, well, our place in it. It's really foundational text if you want to grasp the depths of these ancient spiritual systems.
Okay, let's unpack this right away then. We're diving into Section 1. Unpacking Metu Neter, the divine plan and core philosophy. And this core premise the author has, what they call the divine plan, it's absolutely central, isn't it, to everything in this book.
Oh, completely. And what's truly fascinating here is how the source argues, essentially, that the world wasn't just haphazardly created or, left to chance.
Right.
Instead, it was brought into being and is continuously sustained by what it describes as a unified working of a multiplicity of agencies.
Okay, multiplicity of agencies, like what?
Think of it like an intricate living tapestry, an interconnected web of interdependence, where every single thread, every element is deeply connected and influences everything else. It's a very organic, holistic view of creation.
A unified living organism. That's a powerful image. But then right away, the source confronts what it calls humanity's dilemma. It says that humanity, in its infancy of spiritual evolutionary career, has basically been unable to perceive these very hidden forces and abstract principles that are supposed to unify the world. We're missing the big picture.
We're missing the connections. And this inability, according to the source, leads directly to a profound failure. A failure to establish unity, order, peace, harmony in our collective experience.
And the consequence sounds pretty dire.
It is. The tragic consequence is that the world is described as being plunged and is sinking deeper day by day into the jaws of death. It's not just a philosophical observation. It's framed as a direct, almost urgent result of our limited perception and fragmented understanding.
Wow. Okay, so if that's the dilemma, this sort of descent into chaos, what's the root cause? According to Metu Neter, what's the absolute core issue?
It hammers home this Commission or ancient Egyptian concept, the lack of self-knowledge.
Lack of self-knowledge. Now, this isn't just about not knowing a lot of facts, like historical dates or formulas, right?
Exactly. The source is really explicit here. A mere mass of facts or just a collection of ideas, that alone doesn't make up true knowledge. Or, for that matter, true religion.
So what does then, if it's not just collecting information?
Good question. The book asserts it's only when facts are linked to each other, when their inherent interdependence is actually recognized. And crucially, when the whole is perceived as a unified, interconnected system. That's when true knowledge or religion can actually be formed.
It's about synthesis.
It's totally about synthesis, connecting the dots to see the entire constellation, not just the individual stars.
Which brings us right to the mission of Metu Neter. The author is incredibly clear here. This book isn't meant as a collection of dusty historical artifacts for, as they put it, the delight and folly of historians.
Right, not just something to study academically or appreciate from a distance.
No.
Precisely. The text declares it's meant to be a system to be lived, a practical guide for spiritual cultivation, for real-world application. It's a call to action, really, to actively engage with these principles in your daily life, to embody them. It's meant to be pragmatic.
And what's really interesting is the author's approach, synthesizing these ancient traditions. They aim to present what they call a practical syncretism.
Syncretism, yeah. Pulling together threads.
Pulling together threads from three foundational ancient religions. The Kemetic, which is ancient Egyptian,
Right.
the Dravidian, associated with Black India, and the Canaanite, which the author specifies as the true form of Kabbalah.
Which is a significant claim in itself.
It is,
Uh,
and it suggests this unified underlying wisdom that kind of transcends the apparent cultural or geographical differences, like finding the common operating system beneath different apps.
That's a good analogy. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the core purpose of Metu Neter is to enable you, the listener, to learn and apply the very methods these ancient civilizations used for their creation and, significantly, their recreation.
Recreation, so it's ongoing.
It implies a continuous process, yeah. Not just a one-time event. It's about discovering what the author calls the structural continuum of the Supreme Being, that underlying framework that allows events to unfold in an orderly and harmonious way.
That's a bold claim, essentially saying, look, this is how they did it and you can learn it too. The ultimate goal here is pretty profound: to become the plan and let peace, prosperity, and spiritual realization reign in the world.
It's a huge invitation to align yourself not just intellectually but actively with this perceived divine order. It really shifts the whole purpose of life from just existing to maybe becoming a co-creator of harmony.
Okay, that's a really powerful philosophical foundation laid out. Now let's shift gears a bit and delve into section 2, the cosmic and human landscape of being. Because the Metu Neter framework starts with this really foundational understanding of existence itself, dividing it into the two great realms of being.
Right. The first one is the subjective realm. This is described as the unformed or unoriginated state.
Unformed, okay.
Think of it as the ultimate potential, the essential, unmodified nature of the Supreme Being. It's the realm of unconditioned consciousness, will, and undifferentiated energy matter. It's eternal, infinite, omnipresent, and crucially, it's the source from which all reality, all specific forms spring forth.
Like the ultimate blank canvas, full of infinite possibilities.
Exactly. So if that's the ultimate potential, the unmanifested, then the objective realm is its dynamic counterpart. This is the formed or originated state, the manifested reality.
The world we see and touch.
Pretty much. It's energy and matter that has taken on specific forms and objects. It's the world as we perceive it right now, with all its distinct things, sounds, colors, phenomena. It's the canvas, now filled with the art of creation.
And the Kemetic understanding, according to the source, sees the Neter, the Supreme Being, not just as a singular godhead like we might think of in the West,
Right, it's different.
but as a synthesis of life existing in both these realms at the same time.
Yeah, it's conceptualized beyond an isolated deity, often referred to as Neb or Teher, which means Lord of the World. This emphasizes a pervasive, all-encompassing divine presence that is both everything and nothing, manifest and unmanifest all at once.
Which leads us to this concept of manifestation and duality. The Supreme Being, because it's conscious and has infinite potential, continuously nourishes the world, the subjective realm, through its manifestations.
As always, flowing out.
And the transition from that absolute, undifferentiated state to specific, tangible forms is a core function of cosmogony, the study of the origin of the universe.
What's fascinating here is the emphasis on an indivisible duality between subjective and objective being. They're called complementary halves,
So not separate things.
not separate entities at all, but two inseparable sides of the same cosmic coin, constantly interacting, constantly informing each other.
Okay, that brings us to the real heart of the Metu Neter system, doesn't it? The cosmogonic system and the Paut Neteru, or the Tree of Life.
Yes, this is central. The source explains that this system presents 9 emanations, or spheres, that directly and indirectly integrate all physical reality. These emanations are called Neteru by the Cometians,
Neteru?
or Rishis by the Yorubas,
Okay.
and they correspond roughly to deities, archangels, or angels in Western traditions. It's like a comprehensive map of cosmic intelligence.
And there's a visual for this, the Tree of Life diagram.
Exactly. It's a key visual aid shown with 10 spheres. Sphere 0 represents the supreme being in its subjective state, the ultimate source, that unmanifest potential.
Right at the top, usually.
Then the emanations sort of descend, culminating in Sphere 10, which represents the physical world, or as the text puts it, the zero with its sphere of living, 10.
So 0 is the source, 10 is the manifestation.
Pretty much. And this diagram isn't just a pretty picture. It's crucial for interpreting the physical ordering of reality and understanding the shaping factors of life, both, macrocosmically in the universe and within us, microcosmically.
So how does this creation happen? The source outlines the 6 acts of creation, describing the step-by-step process of manifestation from the subjective being.
Yeah, and it's important to remember, this isn't necessarily a linear timeline like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's more like a continuous unfolding, different layers or stages of manifestation happening simultaneously.
Okay, stages. So the first act of creation.
That corresponds to Sphere 0. This is the supreme being bringing itself out of its unmanifest subjective state, initiating the whole process of objectification. And the source describes this in a really profound way. It says, the only consciousness that there is that of consciousness being aware that it is conscious.
Wow. Consciousness being aware that it is conscious.
Think about that. The very first act of creation, the primal spark, is consciousness becoming aware of itself. That's a foundational insight, not just about creation, but about our own inherent nature, perhaps.
No.
It suggests self-awareness isn't just some human trait, but the very essence of existence itself.
Okay, so from that primal self-awareness, what's next?
We'll move to the second act of creation, which involves spheres 2 and 3. Here, the supreme being brings forth its creative faculties.
Creative faculties, like...
Sphere 2 is the divine will, described as the initiator of creative events, the intention or the cosmic blueprint.
The idea.
The idea, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And Sphere 3 is spiritual power, which is the actualizer or producer of the effect, the force that brings the will into being.
Okay, so will and power.
Right. If Sphere 2 is the architectural blueprint of a building, Sphere 3 is like the heavy machinery and the skilled labor that physically brings that blueprint into existence. It's the pure force that manifests the divine will.
Got it. What follows that?
Following this, there's the creation of celestial government, corresponding to the fourth sphere.
Sphere 4, celestial government.
Yeah, this sphere claims the laws that reflect the forces of the third sphere. It represents order, the cosmic operating system, basically. It ensures that the entire system, the whole of creation, is preserved in harmony and interdependence. It's the inherent structure that prevents chaos.
So the laws are set. How are they enforced?
Ah, that's the second act of creation, confusingly numbered, maybe stages better, at Sphere 5. This functions to maintain unity and interdependence throughout the manifested world, ensuring balance.
Okay, balance.
Then, for the practical administration of reality, we have the third act of creation, linked to Sphere 6. This is the faculty through which metaphysical workers, or the specific Neteru associated with this sphere, coordinate activities to bring forth and administer physical creatures.
Metaphysical workers, like angels or something.
Sort of, yeah. These are the creation of celestial workers, the means of establishing and maintaining order. These deities or cosmic intelligences proceed to create the physical entities of the world, guided by the divine laws from Sphere 4.
Okay, so they're doing the work based on the laws. What's next?
Then, in the fourth act of creation, associated with Sphere 7, the blueprinting process gets more specific for manifested forms. This sphere creates the designs or specific archetypal blueprints for various species of beings.
Ah, like the template.
Exactly. For example, the generic species tiger, before any individual tiger exists, the ideal form.
Fascinating. So Sphere 7 gives us the general design then.
Then comes the fifth act of creation, Sphere 8. This takes those species blueprints and breaks them down into individual existences. This is where we get the distinct individual members of a species.
Making one tiger different from another.
Right. Distinguishing one specific tiger from another with its unique stripes, its unique personality,
Huh.
the process of individuation, making things unique.
Okay, we have individual beings. What's the last act?
And finally, the sixth act of creation falls under Sphere 9. This sphere represents the shaping factors that create the vehicle or soul of an individual thing or event.
The soul.
Yeah. In Kemetic tradition, this is called Ka. In Hindu tradition, Jivanatma. And this sphere is profoundly referred to as the mother goddess creator of all the living and of the earth.
The mother goddess. Sphere 9.
It's a beautiful image, isn't it? To think of the ninth sphere as the very essence that gives individual form and life, connecting us back to the generative power of the earth itself.
Now, what's really interesting is how this creation process isn't just about these abstract spheres. It's grounded in tangible energetic principles too, right?
Absolutely. The source explains how the process involves two primary forces. Shu, which is warm and dry, representing expansive, active energy.
Like fire, air, maybe.
Kind of, yeah. And Tefnet, which is moist and cold, embodying the contractive material aspect.
More like water and earth.
Exactly. Think of it like the yin and yang of ancient Egyptian thought. Their interplay is constantly shaping reality.
And these forces lead to.
These forces, in their dynamic interaction, lead to four fundamental temperaments or types that manifest in all forms of existence. Animals, vegetables, minerals, and humans too.
What are they?
These are the fiery, watery, airy, and earthy temperaments. And the source even goes further, classifying them into ferocious and non-ferocious.
Ferocious and non-ferocious, like aggressive versus passive.
Something like that. It gives a concrete, observable aspect to these underlying cosmic laws and shows how these universal principles cascade down into everyday reality, into the very nature of things.
Okay, so we've got the tree of life, the emanations, the acts of creation, these temperaments. Now let's look closer at the complementary dualities on the tree of life, because this really seems to emphasize that unified web of interdependence we talked about earlier, the idea that everything has its balance, its opposite.
Yes, these dualities are key to understanding the structure. A truly significant one is the 0-10 relationship.
Is 0 and 10, source and manifestation.
Exactly. Sphere 0 represents the infinite potential, the unmanifest source, the pure void of possibility, while Sphere 10, in contrast, is the infinite beings, the goal of creation, the manifested world in all its intricate, diverse forms.
So it contrasts.
It contrasts explicit oneness at the source, where everything is undifferentiated, with implicit oneness in the multitude of beings, where the underlying unity might be harder to see. You have freedom at the origin versus limitation in the physical world, and Enyu, the infinite void versus Geb, the earth.
So it illustrates the whole journey from potential to actual existence.
That's precisely, from undifferentiated potential to specific, tangible existence.
What's another key duality?
The 1 and 9 relationship offers a really profound insight into self-identity and personality.
1 and 9, okay.
Sphere 1 represents the infinite potential of being, the very basis of our pure, unconditioned self-identity, the I am that is unstructured, primordial energy matter, your absolute core essence.
Your true self.
Right. And this stands in direct contrast to Sphere 9, which is described as the soul of physical creations and is responsible for an individual's personality.
Ah, the personality again.
Yes, this is critical. It links that fundamental, unlimited potential of the true self with the more limited, externally influenced aspect of the personality. And the source gives that interesting etymological insight here.
The persona thing.
Exactly, explaining the word person, from the Latin persona, literally meaning through sound is made.
Through sound is made.
Which implies that our personality is largely shaped by external influences, by experiences, by societal sounds, rather than being our inherent, unconditioned essence. It's the mask we wear, maybe, or the role we play.
Fascinating distinction. True self versus personality. What about 2 and 8?
Then we have the 2-8 relationship. Sphere 2 is the wisdom faculty. This is concerned with interdependence, unity, and abstract thought. It's about seeing how everything connects, recognizing the patterns, the profound relationships between seemingly separate things, the holistic mind.
Seeing the big picture.
Right, and this is contrasted directly with Sphere 8, which houses what the source calls the linear logical faculty.
Logic. Sphere 8.
Yeah. This sphere is concerned with concrete details, with segregation, breaking things down into distinct parts. Analysis.
Which is useful, surely.
Of course.
Right.
But the source suggests that when it's not guided by the higher unifying understanding of Sphere 2, this logical faculty can lead to a fragmented, divisive view. It can hide the deeper connections between things and foster a sense of separation rather than unity. It's the mind that analyzes, but struggles to synthesize.
Analysis without synthesis is incomplete.
That seems to be the idea.
Okay, moving on to the 3-7 relationship. This seems to get into more, maybe, esoteric territory.
A little bit, yeah. But it's central to the Metu Neter's practical application. Sphere 3 deals with subtle particles, often referred to as words of power or mantras.
Mantras. Like chanting.
It can involve chanting, but it's deeper. These are seen as the fundamental vibratory essences, the energetic building blocks that influence creation.
Okay, subtle energy, vibrations. And Sphere 7.
And Sphere 7 is the faculty of imagination, and also related to sound waves. The source explains how imagination, when properly applied, works upon these words of power, or mantras, to create results in the physical world.
So imagination directs the power.
Kind of, but it's careful to warn against simplistic views, like merely imagining your goals, without a deeper understanding of the underlying principles and energies at play, especially those of Sphere 3.
It's not just wishful thinking.
Definitely not. It suggests a far more structured, maybe even esoteric application of imagination, where it acts like a sculptor, giving form to the vibratory essence of Sphere 3. It's working with cosmic forces, not just wishing.
Okay, powerful stuff. What's the last duality pair?
Finally, the 4-6 relationship. The fourth sphere is presented as the blueprint of the world. It contains the divine laws, the inherent order of creation. It's the underlying plan, the cosmic constitution, if you like.
The rules of the game.
Exactly. While the 6th sphere governs the metaphysical beings, those celestial workers we mentioned, who are responsible for managing physical reality according to this blueprint.
So Sphere 4 is the plan. Sphere 6 is the administration.
That's a good way to put it. You have the grand design, the universal laws laid out in Sphere 4, and then you have the administrators, the celestial workers of Sphere 6, who ensure the physical world adheres to that plan, maintaining order and harmony.
Wow. It demonstrates this incredible order and systematic nature of the cosmos, as understood by Metu Neter. It's a beautifully intricate system, truly.
It really is. Every part has its place, its function, its complementary opposite.
Okay, that's a truly comprehensive cosmic system, mapping out existence from the undifferentiated all the way down to the individual. But Metu Neter isn't just about abstract universal laws. It meticulously maps this grand design directly onto us, onto the individual.
Right, that's the crucial step.
This brings us to a fascinating area, our own spiritual anatomy, and how truly understanding ourselves, according to this system, is key to unlocking our potential. So let's move into section 3, the spiritual anatomy of man understanding ourselves.
Absolutely. And the source really emphasizes this. Metu Neter's cosmology is intended as a practical guide to correct living and, most importantly, to achieving self-knowledge.
That phrase again, self-knowledge.
It's not just a phrase. It's framed as the beginning and end of all knowledge. The fundamental belief here is that that each of us, is a direct reflection of the Supreme Being, inherently capable of manifesting the infinite power of being. It's the ultimate know thyself, but writ large across the cosmos.
So just as the Supreme Being manifests reality through its 10 creative organs, the Potnataru,
We do too, in a way.
man himself is structured similarly.
The source explains that man also consists of 10 spheres, 9 spiritual spheres, and finally the physical body is the 10th sphere. It's a direct microcosm mirroring the macrocosm.
Wow. So we have the whole tree of life within us.
That's the idea. And what's fascinating is the emphasis on the early years of life. The first 28 years are considered absolutely crucial for spiritual development.
Why 28? Is there a reason?
The text links it to cycles, maybe planetary or developmental. During this time, different faculties associated with these spheres begin to awaken and mature. For example, the 8th sphere faculty, linked to technological skills, practical logic,
Right, Sphere 8 logic.
and the 7th sphere faculty, related to social order, imagination, creativity. These are said to awaken and really solidify during this significant period of development. It's presented as a very intentional growth model.
So our development isn't random, it follows this pattern.
According to this system, yes. And this spiritual anatomy directly impacts our daily lives through what the source calls the 5 principles governing man's life, effectively using the tree of life as a guide to man's spirit or mind.
Okay, 5 principles. Let's break them down. What's the first one?
Let's start with peace, which correlates to spheres 0 and 10.
Peace, 0 and 10. Source and body.
Right. This represents the ultimate why behind all human actions. It's presented as the fundamental emotional and pleasure factor in life, that deep yearning for contentment, for things to feel right.
But it's not automatic.
Interestingly, no. The 0, the subjective realm aspect, is initially dormant in infancy, meaning the true, profound urge to attain real peace is acquired through activating the higher parts of our being. It's not simply an instinct like hunger.
So we have to develop the desire for true peace.
Seems so. And the 10th sphere, the physical body, is then understood as the vehicle for these desires and emotions, the physical interface through which we experience peace or its absence.
Okay, peace is the goal. What's next?
Next up is self, linked to spheres 1 and 9. This addresses that critical question, what man thinks he is.
Our identity.
Exactly. Man's true, unconditioned self-identity belongs to the first sphere. representing that unstructured primordial energy matter, that unlimited potential we discussed. It's your authentic, limitless core, the I am,
Right. But it's paired with Sphere 9.
which, as we saw, is described as the seat of learning and dictates an individual's personality.
Ah, the personality again. Shaped through sound.
Exactly. Persona. It highlights that while your core self, Sphere 1, is infinite potential, your personality, Sphere 9, is largely shaped by external influences, by the sounds and experiences you encounter. So, who you are at your deepest level might be very different from the personality you present to the world day to day.
A crucial distinction. Okay, third principle.
Then there's will, corresponding to Spheres 2 and 8.
Wisdom and logic.
Right. This principle concerns what man thinks he can achieve and how he achieves his goals. The second sphere represents a profound ability to intuit God's will, or the cosmic will, the flow of the universe, and through that alignment achieve genuine, profound success.
Success that goes beyond just pushing hard.
Exactly. It goes far beyond a superficial firm will or mere stubbornness. It's about aligning your personal will with the universal current, true effectiveness.
And the eighth sphere part? The logic.
And the eighth sphere, again, is connected to the more superficial, segregative thinking that often hides the underlying connections. When the will of the eighth sphere, that desire to achieve based just on fragmented logic, isn't guided by the higher unifying understanding of the second sphere,
Things go wrong.
it can lead to conflicts, disharmony, frustration, and ultimately an inability to achieve truly meaningful or lasting goals. It's the difference between pushing against the current and actually flowing with it.
Makes sense. What's the fourth principle?
The fourth principle is power, linked to spheres 3 and 7.
Power. Mantras and imagination.
Yes, this defines man's relationship to God, to other people, and to the world at large. The third sphere enables an individual to influence events directly linked to those words of power, or mantras, those subtle vibratory forces that can literally shape reality when properly understood and applied.
Real power, not just force.
Subtle power, yeah. And complementing this is the seventh sphere, the faculty of imagination. Now, while imagination can certainly create effects in the environment,
As we discussed.
the source is careful again to warn against simplistic views, like just imagining your goals passively. It needs to be connected to the underlying principles and energies, particularly those of Sphere 3.
So it's an active, directed imagination working with subtle energy.
It suggests a far more structured, maybe even, esoteric application of imagination. It's a powerful tool for manifesting when used correctly, not just casual daydreaming.
Okay. And the final principle.
Finally, we come to laws, which are represented by Spheres 4, 6, and 5.
Laws, order, administration, and balance.
Pretty much. This principle governs man's relationship to the world and to divine order. The fourth sphere represents the very quality of man's life and the innate order of cosmogony, the natural laws of the universe. It allows for intuitive living in accordance with divine laws.
Living in flow with the universe's rules.
Right, which contrasts sharply with the often tyrannical influence of the 10th sphere, the raw emotions, when they're not properly guided by higher wisdom.
Emotions taking over.
Exactly. Then the fifth sphere functions as a kind of judicial system for maintaining equilibrium and balance within oneself and the world, ensuring karmic justice, if you will, cause and effect balancing out.
Okay. And the sixth?
And the sixth sphere aids in managing physical reality, aligning individual actions with the universal blueprint from Sphere 4, allowing for effective and harmonious administration of our lives and affairs.
Wow. This holistic view implies that understanding and embodying these 5 principles is absolutely key to living a harmonious, effective, and spiritually aligned life. It's like a complete guide to being human in a cosmic context.
That's exactly how it's presented, a roadmap for self-realization grounded in cosmic principles.
So if we understand our spiritual anatomy through these spheres and principles, the Metu Neter system then takes that understanding and uses it to categorize humanity. This sounds potentially controversial, but it's about types of men and human evolution.
Right. And it's crucial to understand this isn't presented as like a rigid social hierarchy or based on physical characteristics. It's about distinct stages of spiritual development, like levels in a game of cosmic consciousness, as you put it earlier.
Okay, levels of consciousness. So what are they?
The source classifies mankind into 3 fundamental types of men, moving beyond simple physical definitions to describe these stages of spiritual evolution. Type 1 is described as the emotional sensuous man.
Emotional sensuous, where the 10th sphere dominates.
Exactly. The physical body and its raw sensory and emotional experiences are the primary drivers for these individuals.
So what does that look like?
They're primarily controlled by their emotional and sensuous being. Their mental perception is limited to the external, the concrete side of things, what they can see, touch, feel directly,
So they miss the underlying connections.
which makes them highly prone to contradictions in their understanding, because they can't see beyond the surface to the underlying principles that connect things. The source even uses terms like masses or inferior men, drawing a parallel to Chinese Taoism. But emphasizing this is a spiritual distinction, not a social judgment.
Okay. And a key characteristic is
The key characteristic of this type is their lack of intuition. They haven't risen above what the source calls the fifth division of the spirit, or sahu,
sahu.
which means their abstract perception is dormant. They're unable to intuit deeper underlying knowledge or principles. They are effectively, you might say, blind to the hidden workings of the world, relying solely on empirical data without a framework for synthesis.
Stuck in the concrete. Okay, moving up the ladder then, type 2.
Type 2 is the man able to rise above emotions. These individuals are characterized by their ability to transcend the immediate, overwhelming influence of their emotions and senses.
They have more control.
They have more control, yes. This suggests an activation of faculties in spheres 4 through 6, enabling them to apply abstract thought more effectively.
So they can think beyond just what they feel right now.
Exactly. They possess the capacity to know in a deeper sense and to think abstractly. This enables them to perceive underlying physical events and patterns, and crucially, to avoid contradictions or falsities in their understanding. They start to see the connections that Type 1 misses.
They're moving beyond mere reaction to thoughtful consideration.
Right. They're beginning to understand the blueprint, not just react to the building.
Okay, and then the pinnacle, type 3.
And then the pinnacle, Type 3. The man able to intuit knowledge, also called the Osar man.
Osar, like Osiris.
Associated with that Natter, yes. This is presented as the highest stage of evolution, where individuals are able to intuit profound knowledge directly, without needing to painstakingly analyze external facts or rely solely on linear logic. This is presented as true wisdom.
Direct knowing.
Direct knowing. This intuitive ability allows them to solve complex problems with remarkable clarity, achieve significant goals, and even utilize spiritual power through methods like hiko, those words of power, and visualization effectively.
So they can use the power and imagination principles skillfully.
Exactly. This type represents a fully evolved individual who has integrated their spiritual faculties and is aligned with the divine plan, becoming a conscious participant in creation.
It's a clear, progressive path of consciousness development. Let's look a bit deeper at these consciousness levels and evolutionary stages, particularly focusing on the Sahu man, that first stage.
Right. In the stage, described as stage more of man's evolution, consciousness is primarily focused in the Sahu part of the spirit, which means perception is largely limited to external reality, the concrete world.
And behavior.
Behavioral patterns for these individuals were dominated by the sixth division of the spirit called Kaibit, which relates to the animalistic or vital energies. Sort of, yeah. And a fifth division, Sahu itself, which covers spheres 7, 8, and 9, imagination, logic, personality, based on learning. It describes a person living predominantly through their senses and concrete experiences, reacting to the world.
And the source links this to early life, the first 28 years.
Yes, it notes that this sensuous behavior typically dominates the early part of man's life, and it strongly suggests that spiritual practices, like traditional rites of passage, were meant to guide this development, to help the individual shift away from this purely sensuous orientation towards higher understanding.
So interventions were needed.
Intentional development, yeah. The ninth sphere, the personality learning sphere, is crucial during this period, but it's often characterized by indiscriminate imitation, just copying what's seen externally without deep understanding or internal processing, learning by rote, perhaps.
And here's where the source offers that sharp critique of Western education, isn't it?
It really does. It argues that Western education often aggravates this problem of sensuous dominance. By promoting distortions, it claims, and emphasizing concrete realities over abstract understanding. The result, according to the source, is a perception that facts and beliefs are concrete realities in themselves, rather than understanding them as theories, models, or even mutable perspectives.
Seeing the map as the territory.
Exactly. This approach, it suggests, reinforces the limitations of the lower spheres of consciousness, 7, 8, 9, 10, making it harder for individuals to reach higher stages of intuition, sphere 2, and synthesis. It's a profound indictment of a system that, in its pursuit of objective data, might inadvertently blind us to deeper truths.
That's a really powerful statement on how our modern systems might unintentionally hinder spiritual evolution. It makes you wonder how truly ancient cultures approached education, doesn't it? What their curriculum looked like for developing higher consciousness.
It certainly raises questions about what education is fundamentally for.
That critique of Western education leads us perfectly into Section 5, cultural and historical context, which is where this book truly offers a unique and, let's say, often provocative perspective on history and civilization.
Provocative is a good word. What's truly fascinating here is the source's assertion regarding the black founders of civilization.
Okay, what's the claim?
It states, in no uncertain terms, that black nations, specifically the Commissions, or ancient Egyptians, were the authors of pharaonic civilization, and that they laid the foundations for global civilization over 6,000 years ago.
Foundations for everything.
Pretty much, including foundational contributions to virtually every field imaginable: religion, mathematics, geometry, medicine, astronomy, writing, philosophy, you name it. It's a claim of a profound ancient black legacy.
And this isn't just presented as a historical fact the author discovered.
No, it comes with a direct and quite forceful critique of Western scholarship. The source asserts there's been a conspiracy to hide the fact that these black nations were the original founders.
A conspiracy, that's strong language.
It is. It argues that Western scholars have systematically distorted or suppressed the true origins and understanding of these ancient systems, often attributing them to other groups, or minimizing their depth, or dismissing their deeper philosophical underpinnings.
Can you give examples from the text?
Sure. The source cites examples like the Kabbalah, claiming its true form was Canaanite and black, not solely Jewish as often presented, and the Tantric yogic system, whose origins it attributes directly to Black India, the Dravidians.
Okay.
It also discusses the Coptic language, arguing its relation to ancient Egyptian was deliberately downplayed or obscured to deny its black origins and deep spiritual significance. It's a provocative argument, as I said. It forces you to question who writes history, whose narratives prevail, and from what perspective those narratives are constructed.
And just to be clear, we're reporting on the source's claims here, not necessarily endorsing the conspiracy aspect, but understanding the author's full argument.
Exactly. It's about understanding the alternative historical framework being presented here and the profound implications it carries, if true.
This historical and cultural analysis is deeply intertwined with racial and cultural interpretations in the book.
Yes, the source discusses what it calls the three fundamental races of mankind: white, black, and yellow-red, and their prehistoric geographic distribution. It suggests these historical placements influence their cultural and, importantly, their intellectual or spiritual development paths.
How so?
It highlights the precocious development of Kemetic culture, its rapid advancement, and directly critiques theories that attribute this development to external influences, specifically white Semitic races. It presents such theories as historical falsehoods designed to obscure the true lineage of these sophisticated systems.
So it's tying cultural achievement directly to racial origins in this ancient context.
It seems to be making that connection, yes, as part of its historical argument. And this brings us to a really compelling section on the hemispheres of the brain and cultural thought. This serves as a kind of physiological and psychological basis offered for these cultural differences.
Okay, left brain, right brain stuff.
Essentially, yes. The source notes, the human brain has two complementary hemispheres with distinct functions. The left hemisphere, typically responsible for language, linear logic, segregation, differentiation, breaking things down, analysis.
And the right.
The right hemisphere, responsible for intuition, synthesis, integration, unifying, seeing how things connect, forming a whole, recognizing patterns, broader relationships, the big picture thinker.
Pretty standard neuroscience concepts mostly, but how does the source use this?
Here's the twist. The source then argues that cultural dominance has led to an imbalance in how these hemispheres are developed and prioritized across different cultures.
An imbalance.
It posits that Western cultures have predominantly fostered and valued the left-sided brain functions. This emphasis, it suggests, leads to a cultural inclination towards analysis, separation, and a fragmented view of reality, often missing the inherent unity in things.
Okay, a Western analytical focus. And the contrast.
In stark contrast, Black and Oriental cultures are presented as valuing the right-sided functions more. This, according to the source, leads to a more holistic and synthetic way of thinking, where integration, unity, and intuition are prioritized, allowing for a deeper, more interconnected understanding of existence.
That's a significant claim about cultural cognition.
It is. And this difference, the source suggests, has a profound impact on religion and science. It explains why Western religion and science are seen, by the author, as products of this predominantly left-sided approach,
Leading to problems.
leading, the author considers, to false doctrines, practices, and institutions when not balanced with the right hemisphere's integrating function. The argument is that true religion and genuinely scientific thinking, particularly for blacks in the author's view, are inherently intertwined with synthetic thought, seeing the unity in all things, not just the isolated parts.
So science and spirituality wouldn't be separate.
Exactly. It's about a complete integration of knowledge, where science isn't seen as separate from spirituality, but two aspects of understanding the same unified reality.
Okay, so if that's the case, how does Metu Neter then define religion as reconnection, if it's not about separate doctrines?
Well, the source goes right back to the etymological roots of the word religion, from the Latin re, meaning back or again,
Right.
and ligare, meaning to bind or tie.
Ligament, ligature. Okay.
So religion implies a binding back to natural connectivity, a reestablishment of our fundamental connection to the cosmic whole, to the neter, to nature, to ourselves.
Finding back, reconnecting.
Exactly. And this definition stands in sharp contrast to what the source views as common Western interpretations, which it suggests often focus more on external moral laws, dogmas, belief systems, and separate deities, rather than an inherent internal connection that needs to be reawakened or rebound,
So for Metu Neter, religion isn't about believing in external rules.
but about reestablishing that innate connection to the universe, to the neter, and to oneself. It's experiential.
And within this framework, the source talks about the role of trance and ancestor worship. How do they fit in?
Trance is presented not as some abnormal or weird mystical state, but as a natural phenomenon of spiritual existence, a way to fully acquaint oneself with the metaphysical realm, which, in this view, is inherently connected to physical reality, not separate from it.
So trance is a tool for perception.
A method for direct spiritual experience and perception, yes. And furthermore, the practice of ancestor worship, which is common in many Black traditions, is discussed as a profound means of gaining unparalleled guidance.
Guidance from ancestors.
Yes, and understanding the survival of an individual's identity across incarnations, seeing life and consciousness as continuous.
And this is contrasted with the West.
Sharply contrasted with Western traditions, which typically lack such a formalized practice. This, the source implies, leads to a perceived deficit in understanding the continuity of spiritual existence and the wisdom that can potentially be gleaned from those who have passed on, those who are part of your lineage.
So it's a more holistic approach, integrating past, present, future, living, and deceased into one continuous spiritual journey.
That's the picture it paints, yes.
Mhm.
A very different cultural and spiritual perspective.
This entire perspective truly challenges conventional understandings of history, culture, what it means to be human. It really invites us to look at ancient wisdom with fresh eyes, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Whether you agree with all the claims or not, it forces you to think differently.
So we've taken a deep, deep dive into the profound insights of Metu Neter Volume 1, extracting what Ra'un Nefer Amen I presented as an ancient Egyptian system for, well, spiritual cultivation.
We really covered a lot of ground. We started by exploring the author's core premise of the divine plan, understanding the world as that intricate web of interdependence.
Right, the tapestry.
And humanity's dilemma rooted in a lack of self-knowledge, that inability to perceive the unified whole. The mission of Metu Neter, we learned, isn't historical trivia, but a system to be lived, offering that practical syncretism of ancient Kemetic, Dravidian, and Canaanite wisdom, all designed to help us, ultimately, become the plan.
We then journeyed through the cosmic and human landscape of being, delving into the two great realms, the unformed subjective and the manifested objective, and how the Neter encompasses both as complementary halves, not separate.
And we unpacked the intricate cosmogonic system through the Paut Neteru, the tree of life, tracing the six acts of creation from that primordial consciousness, that awareness of being aware,
That was mind-bending.
all the way down to the shaping of individual souls in Sphere 9, the Mother Goddess.
And we saw how fundamental forces like Shu and Tefnut and the resulting four temperaments provide a practical understanding of how cosmic principles manifest in tangible reality. It wasn't all abstract.
Not at all. We also analyzed the complementary dualities on the tree of life, from the infinite potential of Sphere 0 versus the limitation of Sphere 10, to the unifying wisdom of Sphere 2 versus the linear segregative logic of Sphere 8.
And that fascinating interplay of mantras from Sphere 3 working with the imagination of Sphere 7 to actually create results.
Right. Then we turn inward to the spiritual anatomy of man, understanding that self-knowledge is presented as the beginning and end of all wisdom. We saw how man mirrors the cosmos with his own 10 spheres,
The macrocosm idea?
and how the 5 principles governing man's life, peace, self, will, power, and laws can guide our journey. Contrasting our true, boundless self, sphere 1, with our conditioned personality, sphere 9, and intuitive will, sphere 2, with mere superficial desires, sphere 8, offering a path to internal harmony.
Finally, we examined types of men in human evolution, distinguishing the emotional sensuous individual limited by external perception from the truly intuitive Asar man capable of directly perceiving and utilizing profound knowledge.
Which naturally led us to the cultural and historical context, where the source presents Black nations as the original founders of civilization and critiques Western scholarship for allegedly obscuring this history. We explored that fascinating theory of how brain hemispheres might influence distinct cultural thought patterns,
Left-sided analysis versus right-sided synthesis.
and how this impacts fundamental interpretations of religion and science, according to the author.
And we concluded with the profound idea that religion, in its truest sense, is about reconnection, a binding back to natural connectivity, which includes practices like trance and ancestor worship as ways to fully engage with metaphysical reality and understand the continuity of identity beyond a single lifetime.
It's been a huge amount to unpack. This deep dive has truly been a shortcut, hopefully for you listening, to understanding a complex system that aims to provide a clear, lived path to self-knowledge and a more unified existence, moving us beyond just information overload to, ideally, genuine insight and maybe even personal transformation.
So, after all that, what does all of this mean for you? If ancient civilizations, as this source claims, truly held the key to unifying knowledge and achieving peace through such deep self-understanding and a holistic view of the cosmos, what fundamental shifts in our own perception, our own cultural values, might be necessary to unlock similar potential in our modern world and maybe even in your own life?
Yeah, what would it mean for you to genuinely become the plan, as the book puts it, to align your individual existence with this greater cosmic blueprint? That's definitely a question worth pondering long after this deep dive concludes.